Hi everyone. If you're not tapping your feet after watching that video, then I don't know, you must be tapping your hands or something. That was super energizing, that video from home. So welcome back to the summer series. We are on day 23 of the summer series. That is 22 so far. Incredible speakers every day at the same time joining us to share case studies and learning and inspire us and really get our brains going. And every day has been completely different if you've been following us every day, and every day has been just as interesting. And I just feel like I'm just learning so much this summer, and I hope you feel like it too. So this is summer series. I didn't even say where we are. This is summer series with Inspiring Workplaces in partnership with H&H. And for those of you that haven't watched us so far, I'm Ruth Dance and I'm here in the south of England and I'm your host for today. But before we start and I introduce our first speaker, it's also a bit of a special day. It's the 1st of July 2021 today, and it is also Matt Manners, our founder's 40th birthday. So from all of the team at Inspiring Workplaces and all of our community around the world, happy birthday to you, Matt, and congratulations for getting to 40. Welcome to the 40s. So our first speaker for today is Liz Clover. Liz is co-managing director and lead strategist from Home, that feet tapping video that we were just watching. And Liz is going to be sharing a case study with us from Vodafone New Zealand on how they work together on injecting positive energy across that organization. Now, Vodafone New Zealand have got an incredibly talented and committed workforce. And the reality was that their product, their plan, and the complexity of the system was actually holding them back. So they decided to partner with Liz and all of the team at Home to inject some much needed positive energy across the business. And then COVID-19 hit, as we know, and that challenge on injecting positive energy, it became even more critical to the mission. So Liz is going to share the case study on what they did, how they worked together on employee experience redesign, and also how they
built the brand within Vodafone New Zealand from the inside out. I'm also really delighted to say that we have another finalist for the Inspiring Workplaces Awards, and this one is up for an award in the culture category. So let me stop talking and bring Liz to the stage.
Hello.
Hi, Liz. Hi, welcome.
Happy birthday, Matt. I didn't realise it was your 40th birthday. I hope he's celebrating somewhere nice.
He is. So what we did this morning is we all had a team meeting virtually, as most teams do at the moment. And then I raced over in the car an hour and a half to go and meet him for what he thought was a Zoom meeting with me. But we actually went out for a surprise lunch. And then I raced back. And I'm back here for the summer series. So, yeah, I think he's got lots of exciting things planned, all COVID friendly and within the COVID guidelines here in the UK. But yeah, happy birthday to Matt. Happy birthday to Matt. How are you, Liz?
Yeah, I'm great, thanks. As you can see, I'm back in the office and absolutely loving being surrounded by other humans again.
It looks nice and sunny where you are, very in keeping with the summer series.
Yeah, it's a nice day in Bristol, sunny old Bristol.
Good. So you're in the southwest of England, for anyone that doesn't know where Bristol is, so wherever people are dialing in from the globe. And you are presenting this case study on Vodafone New Zealand today, aren't you? And you're going to be sharing some slides too. So if you want to bring them up to the screen now. There we go. Right, that's all working. I'll get off the stage, Liz, and I'll hand over to you, and I'll see you shortly.
Thank you so much, Ruth. So hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. As Ruth said, I'm here to talk to you about one of our case studies that we did with wonderful partners in another part of the world entirely, in New Zealand. So for those of you who don't know, I work for an agency called Home, and we design employee experience. And we do it in a way that creates cultures that energize, inspire, and transform businesses so that cultures shift and we can meet business needs. So this is a snapshot of some of the organizations that we work with. We work with really teeny tiny little organizations like BNP Paribas Leasing Solutions. There's about 600 of them based in the UK. And we work with organizations like Cisco, who have huge global footprints. And this slide shows you a snapshot of the size of some of our organizations. So as you'll see, we have a big global reach, but we'd never before worked for an organization that was purely based in New Zealand. So hello, Vodafone New Zealand. And the way that the project came about was a bit of a funny one, really. We got an email from a lady called Sarah Newcomb, and she'd been following Home and our case studies for years and years and years. And she contacted us and she said, I've got this really big culture shift that I need to deliver. And I just wondered if you know of any agencies that do the sort of things that you do, but are based out of New Zealand. We sort of scratched our heads and we thought, well, we don't actually, but maybe we could make it work. Maybe we could find a way where we're sleeping, you're working, you're sleeping, we're working, and we can sort of do some wonderful work together. So we started on this journey together, not really knowing how it's going to happen because New Zealand are 13 hours ahead of the UK. So that's quite a big time difference, but we thought it'll be fine. It'll be absolutely fine. So as Ruth said, they had a lot of things going for them, Vodafone New Zealand. They were originally a challenger brand and they brought a lot of things to New Zealand first. Unfortunately, they weren't performing as well as some of the other bits of Vodafone. So about 6 months before they contacted us, they'd actually been sold by the group and they had different owners. And they put in place a new leadership team to really turn the business round. And Jason Paris was the new CEO. We met Jason a few times and he was just starting to sort of finalise his strategy and his transformation plan in order to take Vodafone New Zealand to the next level. They were still able to use the brand and the products, but they were owned by a separate entity. So they've got this incredibly talented and committed workforce who love their customers. They're really there for each other. But as Ruth said, because they hadn't really been invested in for a number of years, so the reality was that their product plan and their systems, they just weren't where they needed to be. And when we spoke to their people, what became really loud and clear is that this was so frustrating. It was so frustrating to their employees who just wanted to work in really effective ways and give their customers, whether it be individual or business customers, an amazing customer experience. So the company culturally weren't in the best place, and that's why Sarah picked up the phone to home. So this was a phrase that they used. So culturally, it's really taken its toll on their people, and they felt like they were paddling the whacker ever harder just to stand still. So they were fighting, working harder and harder to try and please their customers, but their systems were getting older, their systems were getting more creaky, and the service just wasn't how they knew it should be and what their customers expected. And then we were just about to get on the plane to fly over to New Zealand, and there was this whole couple of weeks where we didn't know if we were going to get on the plane, get off the plane. And the week before we were due to fly over and go and run a load of focus groups and meet their people, Jacinda actually closed the borders of New Zealand and took the decision completely out of our hands. So COVID-19 hit, and our mission really became absolutely critical. And I remember having a call with Jason quite early on, where he was just trying to figure out what on earth was going on, and what it meant for their business, and what it meant for the work that we were doing together as well. Everything was up in the air. It was so unknown about the journey that was going to unfold. So we did get going. We decided that whatever happened, there was, a need to inject some positive energy into Vodafone New Zealand. Their people care. They just need to believe in the future. They need to have a positive vision that they can focus on. So Jason and the new exec team decided that they were going to go ahead and launch this new purpose that they'd developed, a strategy, a plan on a page, and a whole transformation program. They asked us if we could sort of work in putting together a really clear narrative, a narrative that told this compelling picture of the future and showed where all of these different big picture elements pulled together to take Vodafone New Zealand from where it was now to where the exec team knew that they needed to be, and what the role of their people was in that journey. So in order to do that, we also launched and embedded a new set of behaviours. And it was really important that we did it in a way that we upskilled people leaders. So Vodafone New Zealand had never really managed change and transformation in a way where they were empowering their people leaders to understand what the change was and drive that change from the bottom up through their people to action plan about how they're going to hit the transformation goals and deliver the new strategy. So that was a really important part of upskilling their people leaders, so that after home goes, Vodafone New Zealand has this sustainable way of managing change and transformation going forward. So we know that to get purpose and strategy activations right, they have to be really laser focused on what's important and completely aligned with crystal clarity to where the business is going and the strategic direction in the vision. We need a really impactful narrative, one that's going to speak to the individuals that work there, get the dialogue going, make sure everybody's on the same page so that they can have great two-way conversations about what's happening and their role in that. We really want, a great internal comms, employee experience activation to give people a voice. So it's really important that, change needs to come from the people who are going to be living the change. So we need to understand what people think about transformation, think about the new purpose, think about the strategy and how it's going to impact them and be implemented. And storytelling is such an amazing tool that you guys will know about, using it to role model people who are living the new purpose and living the new behaviours. And overall, we want the approach to drive the right culture, and a culture that's aligned to the new purpose. So it's about understanding what the purpose, what the direction is, and then what that means culturally within an organisation, and how employees need to experience that purpose for themselves every day. And it really has to start where the people are today. So if we don't talk in a language that makes sense, and we don't talk about a reality that people, are familiar with and is real to them as individuals, it's not going to be authentic, and it's not going to resonate in the right way, and it's not going to get people to really believe in the vision that you're selling and the journey that you want them to go upon. And, home will always want absolutely everything we do to be simple, clear, actionable and measurable. It sort of goes without saying, really. So that was the strategic framework that we developed. And the narrative really had to tell this big picture story that linked all these different elements together. So when we were talking to Sarah and her team, we're really clear, and we agreed that, you know, your purpose, your vision, your values, your strategy, these aren't separate projects, not separate things that you communicate about and you want your people to understand. It's the whole story, it's the whole direction that an organisation is going in, and how you're going to get there. And it's really important that you on the ground, no matter what your role is, what you're doing, you understand how your actions today fit into this big picture and the value that you're bringing to the organisational goals. And what happens when you get it right? So we know more than most people that, you know, if you can increase connection between an individual and the mission and the purpose in a really authentic way, it's going to drive incredible results. So there's just a few stats there that we love to sort of remind ourselves why we do this stuff. So what did we do? Everything that we did with Vodafone New Zealand was through this amazing partnership that we developed. And it was incredible, really, getting to know a team who were on the other side of the world. And, you know, their budgets got really cut in half as we were sort of halfway through this journey together. And we had to find different ways that we were going to work together. And they're lucky enough to have this in-house team. And so a lot of the work that we did was about setting up their internal studio, their people who are normally doing their external marketing, and upskilling them in a way that they can deliver this transformation program and new strategy and purpose internally. So it was an incredible partnership. So sadly, rather than jumping on a plane and heading over to New Zealand, we had to get to know the Vodafone New Zealand from our bedrooms so many kilometres away. And across 6 days, we did 12 interviews with their board, their senior stakeholders. We ran 8 remote workshops, and we did that all on the night shift. And it was such a pivot for us to do, to be able to go from thinking that we were going to get on a plane just to be able to speak to everybody and make sure that we were getting the right cultural insights from people that we'd never met before, through, you know, Zoom and all these lovely tools that we now are so familiar with. So throughout the work that we did getting them, we wanted to test their new behaviours and make sure that we understood how these new behaviours were going to land with their people, and whether they felt like they were the right behaviours, and whether they felt that they were the behaviours that they could embody and would be sort of valuable to them as individuals. We also wanted to test what their new purpose meant to them. So the new purpose that Vodafone New Zealand came up with was remarkable simplicity. And we wanted to understand what the stretch was between where they were now to this remarkable simple destination, and what that would look like for individuals in different roles and functions across the business. We wanted to understand what it was that Vodafone New Zealand could focus on in their transformation, what mattered most to the individuals who were going to be delivering the change. And we wanted to really know what their unique cultural strengths were, so that we could build upon the cultural strengths in the way that we're engaging with them, and in the narrative and the language that we were using, and the tactics and the tools that we created to deliver the change. And finally, the team there, they hadn't really ever done a mini-com or any sort of communications audit. So we included a mini-comms audit within the research that we conducted for them. And we just wanted to use the budget and the resource that they had in the best possible way. So we never start any cultural work without first getting to know the audience's people. And it's really important that we deliver messages in a way that the audience wants to receive them. So all of that. Oh, sorry. And there was a 6th, and this was the part that we were so upset about. So when we were talking about Sarah, they are a Maori business. They're a New Zealand business for the Maori people. And we were going to have this glorious cultural tour where we got to meet Maori people and see their culture firsthand. So unfortunately we couldn't do that, but we met this wonderful Maori expert who works for Vodafone New Zealand, and she took us on a bit of a cultural insight tour so that we could understand you know, the context for who we were communicating with. And it was a really great experience to go through, but not the same as it would have been in real life, I'm sure. When I was putting this together, this slide made me laugh. We came up with a plan. We came up probably with about 15 plans because things were just changing all of the time, and we had to put aside what we thought we were going to do and come up with a new approach. But this was where we landed. We really wanted to start off with some sort of teaser so that we could build some intrigue and a sense of anticipation, get people talking about what was going to happen, and then really land the big picture, the changing strategy, transformation and plan on a page, and the new behaviours in a big bang way. Then it was about working out how we could keep momentum going after we delivered the initial communications and experiences. But the biggest thing we did is we created them this beautiful new brand. And this was so important. So the whole journey that we were on with them, we talked about needing to inject positive energy. And this new internal brand had such a critical role to play in changing people's perceptions of what it meant to work for the company and what the future could hold for them. And you'll see, I'm going to show you some of the creative and the assets that we delivered for them. So we brought in this beautiful vibrancy and this sort of idea that something bright is around the corner, and some hopeful, positive transformation is going to happen through this beautiful colour palette. And you can see here how the colours really bring energy and a sense of movement and, you know, positive way forward to the design. And we also wanted to introduce this lovely sort of candid and real photography style. And what we did is we actually developed a photography guide for their internal team, and they went around and they captured photos of real life employees at work and outside of work that we could use in the campaign assets, because we always want to hero any people that work for any organisation, and featuring them in the internal comms is a great way to do that. And humour was such a important element. So we wanted to bring back people's smiles. And in the cultural research that we did with them, we understood that humour was such an important trait for the New Zealanders, and it was a way that they spoke to each other to get through the day. And it was all about being relaxed and having a laugh and just not taking things too seriously. And so we really wanted to reflect that friendliness, that energy, that love of life, with coupled with a sense of humour, with some pared back typographical treatment. So that's the whole different assets of the internal brands coming together on this page. So we wanted to get people talking. So what we did is we came up with a few teasers, and we just got some of the messaging out there. We didn't tell anybody what we were doing. These images just started to appear in newsletters, in emails, on digital banners, and nobody knew what was happening, and it really did the job. Everybody was very sort of, ooh, what's going on? Something is changing, but we're not sure what. And then what we wanted to do is create a moment in time. So draw a line under the sand, putting the past behind us and moving forward towards this new future, this new dawn. So we sent out invites to everybody, but we didn't tell people what they were being invited to. We just told them what the date was, what the time was, and that they needed to get involved. And I had this really funny late night phone call with the team after we did the teaser campaign, and they were so worried that everybody was going to be disappointed with the launch of a new purpose and strategy and set of behaviours, because people thought that there was a new brand coming, or there was this enormous new partnership deal that they were going to announce. And we did this big event where the exec were talking through the plan on the page and the transformation and the new purpose. And the big regret that our client has was that they didn't order more pizza because so many people turned up. So this fresh creative, this new approach and this intrigue that we created just really did get people talking and excited and interested, and everybody wanted to find out what was happening. So quite often what we do at home is we like to draw out strategy and transformation plans on a page, because we find if we use visuals in this way, it's a really helpful way of getting people to understand the big picture visually, and then leaders and people managers can use these sorts of tools to talk to their teams. So we did this big launch event with the exec team, where they talked through the various elements of what's happening, why it's happening. They launched the behaviours, and they talked about what the role of the people were in delivering this transformation. And the whole event, it was about 3 or 4 hours, and it was this big rally cry. It was this big sense of our future can be amazing. It's in our grasp. We're going to transform the business. We're going to fix the issues that have been blighting us and slowing us down and stopping us from providing really great customer service. But we need everybody's help. We need you to get on board. We need you to step up. We need you to be the best version of yourself so that you can help us get there smartly, as fast as we can, and really make the future that we all want to be part of as good as we possibly can. And of course, for the first time, they had a lot of their people were remote, so we had to organise these satellite watching parties with interactive questions and beams, and they had a DJ that came sort of satellited in, and there was a bit of a party atmosphere in the New Zealand, the main head office, with these satellite watching parties in their different locations across the country. It was a resounding success. Their exec and their people leaders were all so enjoyed the day, and just felt like it really created this lovely buzz that then we could get the people leaders to sort of run with after the event. So it was about creating this intrigue, getting everybody talking, having this really high energy, high octane event, and then carrying that positive energy on through the people leaders. And the way that we did that is we created these toolkits, and this is a really sort of great way to upskill people leaders, giving them the information that they need, and then getting them to run action planning sessions with their teams. So whenever we do these people leaders, line manager toolkits, we always separate them into 2 parts. The first part is just for you as the manager. It contains everything you need to know about the high-level messages and the transformation and the strategic changes that we want to deliver. And then the second part of the toolkit is PowerPoint or slide deck or series of workshop materials that you can use with your team to work through what the change means for you and your everyday. And we always provide action planning tools so that it becomes a really practical conversation, a practical session where you can say who's going to do what by when, and get really tactical about starting to embed the change that the organisation needs from the bottom up. And we didn't just want to do a normal behaviours launch and campaign. So this is where we really brought the humour through. So the behaviour to the left of the screen is we're fanatical about customers, and we've just used some really playful language around cheese can cause nightmares, like our customers going elsewhere, scary. And the one to the right is around we simplify and act is the behaviour, and bumping into your ex, dinner with the in-laws, cookie dough or peanut butter. You know, it's just being very playful around the behavioural language. And I love this one. We had one job. So it's just really playful in terms of trying to get what can be quite dry messaging across. And this is an example of a little sting that we delivered for them. We also wanted to get their recognition scheme rejuvenated, revamped. So when we were doing the focus groups, the research that we did right at the beginning, part of the reason that people felt de-energized is because nobody felt recognized, nobody felt valued, they didn't feel that anybody was saying thank you or well done. So it was really important that we spent a little bit of time looking at how they did recognition and reskinning it for them. So we came up with this idea of the Remarkables that links to their purpose of remarkable simplicity as a name for people who are doing remarkable things every day. And we produced a suite of little tools that you can tailor and send to somebody that you just want to say thank you for, and just give them some recognition about the value that they've added to you or to a customer or one of your colleagues. And we link them to the behaviours as well as the overall purpose. And I guess when you're doing any sort of transformation programme, it can't ever just be words. It can't be words on a page, it can't be words on a poster on a wall or on a digital screen. Your employees need to feel the difference in their day-to-day experience. They need to feel when the purpose is being realised and experienced by them, and they need their behaviours to show up in their interactions with their managers and in the different ways that they interact with the company that they work for as well. Otherwise, it's just not going to land authentically, and it's not going to make a meaningful difference. It's going to sort of be met with cynicism. So we gave the internal team at Vodafone a sort of workshop outline where we plan out the hire to retire journey, and they spent time looking at all the different elements and interactions on that journey, and they looked at how to weave the purpose and the behaviours in to make sure that it was an authentic journey and that these things were baked into their everyday employee experience. So they did so much stuff. They revamped their career section. They built this really cool learning app called Game On that you could self-serve with, and it was linked to the behaviours and it was linked to the purpose, and it helped you understand how you're doing, and it made sure that you were sort of going through all the different types of information that you needed to understand in order to be aligned culturally and be aligned with the direction of the organisation, but using gamification. So it was really cool. They also updated all of their guides for people leaders to make sure that the people leaders, when they were inducted, had a really great understanding of what it meant to be a people leader within Vodafone New Zealand, and how you lead a team to realise the purpose and coach for these behaviours to appear, and the sort of things that you needed to do to role model the behaviours yourself. We made sure that all the behaviours were really front and centre of their onboarding materials. And like I said, we revamped the recognition, and internally they developed this whole series of training modules for the behaviours where individuals could come and assess themselves about how strong or how much development they had in specific behaviours, and then go through different modules in order to upskill themselves and learn new behaviours that would benefit their performance. They also reviewed all of their HR nuts and bolts, so talent management, role profiles, and the HR platforms to make sure that they were aligned to the new direction of the organisation. And they came up with some lovely surprise and delight moments that were linked to the different behaviours. And one of the ones that I thought was really nice was on Valentine's Day. They created some collateral that allowed people to send each other sort of letters of appreciation, really, these love letters to say how thankful they were and what it was about their behaviour that they really appreciated. It was just a really nice little touch. And for the retire section, they added a behaviour section to their exit interview. So the idea is that if somebody leaves, maybe they'll join an alumni programme, and you want to know who was really great in terms of living behaviours as well as their performance. So they were creating a more rounded picture their leavers, so that if people want to come back and join, they have a sort of more wholesome view of who they were and what sort of employee they were when they worked for them before. And, we're so keen on measurement at home because we want to make sure that our clients look really good and that they're delivering the value that they're promising their organisation. So we absolutely love it when an organisation is really keen on measurement as well, because it makes such a difference to the budgets and the resources that you can get going forward, and how you can keep investing in your organisation and creating a better employee experience for everyone. So they were absolutely thrilled with engagement levels with the initial culture shift materials. This for them is really high view numbers, and VFN is Vodafone News, and which is their main channel that they use to communicate with everyone. And this was happening at a time of COVID when people were remote working, so they were absolutely thrilled with these numbers of engagement. And they had really great engagement with the People Leaders Toolkits. They'd never done anything like this before. So the fact that 80% actually used the toolkits that we created and did planning sessions with their people, they were really, really thrilled with the investment that they'd made. So within the first quarter, so this launched in August, beginning of August last year, and by October, the people's perceptions of some of the key indicators that they look at every quarter had really jumped up. So there was a 19% increase in the amount of strategic clarity people had, and that was directly thanks to the work that we'd done together. The role clarity as well increased by 6.5%, and we think that that's from these action planning sessions and the use of the visual map, so that people can understand what they're doing and how they're contributing to their big picture. So, these are some really fantastic results that they were really thrilled. And it's continued. So their latest Q3 survey results have all seen a bit of an uptake. And this one, the second one down, this 41% said that they saw people being held accountable for poor performance, is really fantastic. And that's in part down to clarity around the behaviours that were expected, but also in the ways that people are, being managed in terms of their day-to-day, and whether it is contributing to the strategic goals and the overall purpose. So thank you all very much for listening. I hope that you found that useful. And now it's time for Ruth to come back and we can take questions from the floor.
Hi Liz. I'm just going to take your slides off the screen so we can see you slightly bigger. Hi. That was really, really interesting. Thank you for sharing such a beautiful, it was just visually beautiful. The results are beautiful. The story is beautiful. Just a really beautiful case study. I'm really sorry you didn't get to go and experience the Maori culture and get to do that culture trip, but what fantastic results during a pandemic nonetheless, right? Like, it's just amazing, I think, what people have achieved in such adverse and challenging and times of panic, that some organizations haven't just trodden water, they've really thrived and really not put things on hold. And that's a really great example of what Vodafone New Zealand did. And I was going to ask you some questions around how did you handle the people that didn't want to step up? But when the biggest challenge is that you didn't order enough pizza, that kind of speaks for itself, right? Like, people clearly loved it and they were really engaged, and it was really, really great to hear. I love the hire, inspire, admire, and not fire, retire. Not hire, inspire, admire, and fire. Probably not the right one. Retire. I really love that, and I really love to see that in that admire section, the quantity of actions and everything in there was great. Was there anything on reflection that you would have done differently?
I don't think there was, because it felt like everything was against everyone at the time, and it was really moment to moment, and we were just trying to handle all the change and handle the uncertainty and keep positive and trying to remember what we were there to do. And they still had a job to do. And I think in a time of complete crisis where things felt completely out of control, to come up with this really positive, inspirational focus point that injected positive energy into the organisation. You know, I'm really proud that we did that, and we did that together, working with their team. You know, we sort of cried together, we drank wine together. It was like a partnership that was so unique and different because of this wild journey that we went on. That although we've never met, you know, I'm sure that we'll be friends for life. And, you know, I think it's testament to what we achieved together in the crazy time. So I'm not sure that there is actually with this project.
And who would have thought 2 years ago that you would be crying together, having wine together, and being friends for life with someone that you've never seen from the chest down, right? Like, I think that's really, really amazing, and goes to show how much we can achieve. And if we never imagined that 2 years ago, then what's next 2 years from now? I was going to ask you the question of what's next, but I guess we don't always really know.
Well, their transformation, so the idea is that we set them up for quite a long journey. So their transformation is in 2 halves and it's across 3 years. So they've still got quite a while to go on the first element of the transformation, which is about putting the basics right. And then they'll shift to the second half of the transformation, which is about more ideation and co-creation and creating this amazing future once they've fixed all of these system, process, ways of working, the clunky things that weren't quite working. So they have a long transformation journey ahead of them, and that was part of the challenge of the internal brand, is we didn't know what was going to happen, and we had to come up with something that would stand the test of time and could travel with them. So they are happily still transforming at the moment. They've got quite a way to go.
Transforming away. I hope to hear from Vodafone New Zealand, maybe in Summer Series 3.0 or Summer Series 4.0, how they've got on. But thank you so much for sharing all of that today, Liz. And for anyone that's watching on demand and anyone that's got any questions that you're watching on the blog, then you can add comments just below here. But a huge thank you for sharing that story, sharing such a beautiful story. I feel full of love after hearing about the relationship between Home and Vodafone. So thank you, and it's a bye to you for today, Liz. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. Bye.
Okay, so coming up tomorrow, we have Perry Timms from PTHR, who, if you've ever heard Perry speak, full of energy and definitely not one to miss. He is going to be showcasing a brand new slide deck that no one's ever seen before, and he is going to be showcasing a range of team-based practices, and he says that he is going to inspire and spark you to think differently about teams. It's not one to miss. Same time, same place. You've probably got me as your host again tomorrow, and it's Friday tomorrow. So I'll see you tomorrow. It's a bye for now. Thank you.